Morning, Falcons. Today is Thursday, May 14th. Today we are going to finish up Unit 6 and look at the monopsony of a resource market. So what we're going to do today, we're going to start by looking at the characteristics of a monopsony. It's basically a labor market that resembles a monopoly. So here are the characteristics of a monopsony. One firm hiring all the workers. The firm is large enough to manipulate the market. Workers are relatively immobile in this resource market. Firm is a wage maker. To hire additional workers, the firm must increase wages. So an example would be a coal mine in a small town where the coal mining firm is the primary source of employment for those people living in that town. Government employment of civil servants, nurses, or police are all examples of monopsony. So this says, assume the firm can't wage discriminate and must pay each worker the same wage. So you'll see when the Acme coal mine offers a wage rate of $4 per hour, no workers are willing to supply their labor for $4. So what does the firm have to do to give people incentive to work? They have to increase the wage. So when they increase it to $4.50, one worker is now willing and able to work. If they want to hire more workers, they have to pay each additional worker more money. So you see with $5, 2 workers are now willing to work. $5.50, 3 are willing to work. 6, 4 are willing to work. 7, 5 are willing to work. 8, 6 are willing to work. $9, 7 are willing to work. And then $10, 8 are willing to work. You will notice that the marginal resource cost is not constant like it is in a perfectly competitive resource market. And that is because in order to hire more workers, you have to increase the wage. You'll see that the marginal resource cost increases as you hire more workers because each worker that you hire is earning more wage now. So in a monopsony, the MRC does not equal wage. Okay, it does not equal the wage in a monopsony for a resource market. So when you look at a graph of a monopsony, okay, this would be perfectly competitive, supply of labor, demand of labor. If the firm can't wage discriminate, where is the marginal resource cost, or where is the wage? So here is the MRC, and you'll notice that the MRC is increasing because once again, as you hire each additional worker, you have to increase the wage in order to do so. So the firm is still going to hire where MRP equals MRC, so they're still hiring right here. Now, the monopsony is kind of an upside down monopoly. They're not going to pay workers this wage right here. They're going to pay them down here with the supply curve because the supply curve shows what workers are willing and able to work for in terms of wage. So they hire this quantity of workers, and they're going to pay them this amount right here. So it's kind of like a flip monopoly from the product market. So you're still hiring where the MRP equals the MRC, and then you go down to the supply curve that indicates what workers are willing and able to work for. So the wage is right here from the supply curve and not here. This is a monopsony FRQ. You don't really see a lot of monopsony FRQs in the AP exam. This is from a couple of years ago, but this just kind of shows if potentially you were to see a question about a monopsony next week on the AP exam, how to read this graph, and then the next slide shows the answers. So you can take a look at that. I will have this PowerPoint posted, and if you have questions about this FRQ, let me know. But here are all the answers right here. So the quantity of labor is 100 units. So sometimes the marginal resource cost is the marginal factor cost. So once again, you're hiring where MRP equals MRC. So that's 100 units of labor. They're going to pay them a wage rate of $10 going back down in the supply curve. And then identify the quantity of labor hired in each of the following situations. If Tremart operates in a competitive labor market, they're going to hire 200 units of workers. So this essentially does not exist. So it's going to be where supply and demand intersect. So that's 200 units. And the next question here, the government imposes a minimum wage of $12.50. What's the quantity of labor that's going to be hired? It's going to be 150 units. That's where it intersects right here. So the MRC is going to intersect the supply of labor right here, and they're gonna hire 150 units. Labor markets and globalization. If you were to look at your tags of your articles of clothing, you would find that most of your articles of clothing are not made in the United States of America. They're made in other countries throughout the world, and this is done because it's cheaper to produce in other countries. So this is globalization. Globalization is a result of firms seeking the lowest costs and greater profits. Parts are made in China because labor is significantly cheaper. You do not have to pay workers in China or developing nations a minimum wage. So that lower costs for businesses, which in turn then increases profit. And then outsourcing is when firms sends jobs overseas. And then what types of jobs are outsourced? For many years, it was only unskilled jobs, but now other skilled jobs are sent overseas because once again, you can pay those workers less money overseas than you would in this country. This little cartoon here, mom is telling her son, finish your dinner. There are people in China and India who are starving. That was yesterday. And then today, finish your homework. There are people in China and India who are starving for your job. Advantages and disadvantages of globalization. Disadvantages, it's going to increase U.S. unemployment. Less U.S. tax revenue generated from workers and corporations means less public benefits. You can't tax, obviously, those workers' income that are working outside of the U.S. And then foreign workers obviously do not receive the same protections and health benefits as people working in the U.S. Advantages, lower prices for nearly all goods and services that we have here in this country. It decreases world unemployment and it improves quality of life and decreases poverty in less developed countries because those people are now employed and have jobs and are earning a wage. So that's it. That's Unit 6. Next week, we will take a brief test over Unit 6, and then you will take the AP exam. So I hope everybody's doing well, staying safe. You're going to have a homework assignment to complete. And then once again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Go Falcons.